Jeremiah Pickett, aka Bang.
Yes, sir.
What's going on, dude?
Bro, all is well, man. Super, super pumped to do this.
All is well. That's what I'm talking about, man. I met JP like way back in the day. We met in college, and actually, I don't know if you remember this or not, but the first time you and I met, we played basketball together.
Okay.
Do you, I don't, yeah, in the hyper. Yeah, dude. Okay, so this is a completely odd story, but we hooped on everybody that day. I
Okay.
mean, probably the best ball movement I've ever had between me and another random person I've ever played
Come
ball
on, come
with.
on. Let's go. Yes,
But
sir.
it was awesome. So yeah, dude. So since college, I've kind of been watching where your early career's going,
Yeah,
and you're out there doing stuff. Tell everybody kind of what you've been doing since you and I moved on from college.
totally. Yeah, man. So immediately following graduation, I got hooked up with a local nonprofit in Fayetteville, Arkansas called Potter's House. And started working with them, doing some really, really neat stuff in the community, building relationships, and trying to connect people across cultural and socioeconomic backgrounds. So I've been doing that since May of 17, which has been, just a blast. You look up and it's been 4 years. And I mean, we kind of just started our professional career. So this is by far the
Mhm.
longest I've worked in one place. And so it's been
Mhm.
really, really neat. Also, really jumping into the artist world and the creative world. So, doing some music and directing videos and just some different creative ventures, which have been really, really fun and fulfilling and satisfying. So, I really don't know what to call myself, what I am. I'm just out here, taking advantage of opportunity as it comes and trying to have fun while doing it. So,
I understand that, man. It's kind of interesting. Are you still single?
still single.
Okay, yeah. So it's kind of interesting being young and single and just being able to chase down like anything you want to,
Totally.
right? Like I've got a lot of friends that are entrepreneurs and they have, I mean, dude, the things that they go after, and I'm sure the hours that guys like them and you work is just like a lot, right? Like you were on a run before this, you know.
Totally.
Yeah.
So, it's really interesting you bring it up. I was talking to my brother earlier, and he was like, if I was young and single like you, I would travel all the time. And I'm like, I get that because I travel all the time. You know what I mean? I get to kind of use my time how I want, which sometimes might not be the wisest. Yesterday, I stayed up till 3 just, in here messing around with some different music stuff. But to your point, when you're single, you can do stuff like that.
Come on, man. So tell us a little bit about the music. I think I dropped the stage name, but if I didn't, it's Bang. It's BAANG. And for the people who are watching us, kind of lift your shirt up because I think you're repping a neighborhood love dealer. Come on,
Yes,
man.
sir.
All right,
Yes,
so tell us
sir.
about it.
Yeah, man. So, how far back do you want me to go? You want me to just talk about the recent stuff, or you want me to kind of?
Man, give me the inception of Bang.
Okay,
I guess like how it all started,
perfect,
first album. I want the
perfect,
career.
perfect. Let's go. Whole spill. Cue
Yep.
the cue the violins. It gets a little touchy. No, I'm just kidding.
Let's go.
So, uh, man, for as long as I can remember, I've been musically inclined. Grew up really, really young. Had my background in music. I think comes mainly from church. Um, 5, 6, 7 years old, like singing in the choir with my brothers and sisters and doing all of this different stuff. And parents clean the house on Saturday mornings, and you just hear all those different music. And so, my love for music runs really deep and goes back as far as I can remember. As for kind of getting started with it, I used to be a writer, and that used to look like short stories. And I'm thinking like second, third grade. I remember in third grade, one of my teachers, Miss Havens, shout out to you, Miss Havens. I don't know what you're doing these days, but
Shout
uh,
out.
shout out. She had me write this writing prompt, and once I got finished, like I enjoyed the prompt so much that I turned it into a little book and I gave it to her. And she was like, "Let's get this published." And I was kind of like, "Whoa," But she thought it was good enough that she wanted to, publish it and keep it. And that was the first time that I thought, like, okay, not only do I enjoy this, maybe I'm somewhat skilled at it. in the third grade. And so you kind of fast forward to fourth and fifth and sixth grade, and I start getting into poetry. And so continuing to do creative writing and short stories, but it kind of flowed into poetry. And then naturally, the line between the type of music that I make and poetry is so fine that it just kind of bled into songwriting. And so that's like seventh, eighth grade. Initially, when I first started doing it, it was very personal and dear to me. And honestly, just something that I did for fun and in a lot of ways to like deal with certain emotion, process certain feelings. So I was very guarded with the work that I did at that time. It was very, like I said, near, dear, and kind of just sacred to my heart. And then you get to a point where somehow my friends kind of start catching wind that I'm doing this and I'm pretty good at it. And so that's when a lot of attention kind of got focused to something that I kind of held near and dear to me. So initially I was really guarded. Like I didn't want to do any, people who know me super closely know that I'm kind of introverted. And those who don't know me, as deep, they don't get that because I'm always like high energy and like to have fun and I'm always doing something silly, but I'm kind of like let me play the background if at all possible.
Well, so, it's weird showing your true emotion versus your fun emotion.
Totally.
Yeah. So
and it's a balance. And it really is a balance because I mean I love people. I love meeting new people and doing things. And like I said, I am high energy. But I'm also like, I need the space to recharge. And if I don't have to be, then I'd rather like sweep the floors than MC the event, if that makes sense. So
I'm with you. Yeah.
Yeah. So initially I was kind of like, I don't want to share this with y'all. I'm glad you like it, but I don't want to rap for you,
Yeah.
And then I mean like 13, 14, my uncle had a studio and he used to be, the music guy in the city that I lived in. So he would have all of his very old established artist friends like sitting around the table listening to me like rap and stuff. And initially I was kind of off-putting and like frightening, but I think over time it just kind of groomed up this well-versed like ability in me and like helped me, I think, ultimately get over the stage fright of being in front of people. So anyways, fast forward, I kind of decided not to do music. Just didn't want to do it. Like decided I didn't want to be an entertainer. And that was at a time where I was just thinking like, if I got a choice, I don't want to deal with all that comes with being in the forefront and like, having your work publicly scrutinized and, putting yourself out there for people to either accept or, when it's interesting, anything you do entertainment wise, you're putting your career in the hands of other people, so to speak,
That's good, man.
One of my favorite artists is Andre 3000, and he has a line where he says, I live by the beat like you live check to check, So if my music doesn't move your feet, then I don't eat. And so we're like neck and neck. So it's the same thing. Like, you might have a paycheck that you're budgeting, but I'm kind of under the same pressure because if I release a song that you don't like, then I don't get paid, So it's just like, I really kind of didn't want to subject myself to that. And so I denounced music at all costs. Like I'm just continue to write and enjoy and use it as an outlet, but I don't want to, do it professionally. And then you kind of get to a point where you realize that sometimes it's not what you want to do, but it's about what you feel called to do and led to do. And so I kind of had to get out of my own way once I saw so many opportunities just presenting itself. And then I thought about it, like if I have the ability to inspire someone else, even if that be just one person with a skill or a gift or a talent that, God's blessed me with, it's not even mine, it's something that he's gifted me with. If I have the opportunity to encourage or uplift or motivate somebody else, then, who am I to deprive them or ultimately myself of that? So 2017, What You Want Me to Say, my debut album releases. And that was honestly just a long time coming. I've been working on it for a little while. And a lot of my friends and close family have been anticipating a project from me for years at that point. And so it was just honestly my, me just saying like, thank you guys for supporting me. Here it is. And that same year did my first concert with my buddy Jasper Logan, who's also a great artist. Check him out. But did my first concert with him, also here in Fayetteville, Arkansas. And yeah, shortly thereafter, have released a few little projects since. And so that's an album. And from that album, I released like mixtapes. And the difference is an album is something that you, in artist terms, to kind of take a more complex concept and make it, you know, simpler. An album is something that is more thought out, conceptual, and something that you maybe spend a little bit more time and energy on. A mixtape is something that's just more like you putting out where you are at that time. So just the vibes and the energy that you are experiencing at that moment, you just kind of put it out. Maybe not as much storyline or streamlined thoughts, just literally, you know, something to have. So I think 2 albums and 4 or 5 mixtapes in now. My albums, What You Want Me to Say and Neighborhood Love Dealer, the one I just dropped. You can find on all streaming platforms. And then the mixtapes, you know, you get on SoundCloud and you check it out because it's free. That's also a difference. Mixtape is something you put out for the fans and your listeners for free, and an album is something that you can profit off of. So
yeah, come on, dude. That's a heck of a ride to go from being in 3rd grade writing poetry to, you know, then having. I mean, I guess whenever you're young and your talents start to get discovered, it's weird, right? Like it's so strange to be noticed for something, especially like, you know, you and me, like we're dudes, right? So like, you know, there's not a lot of dudes who run around saying that they're writers.
Yeah, for sure.
Which
I'm telling you, yeah, for like I said, for me it was off-putting, you know, and I don't know if that's just because of my personality type. Some people love attention and they love to be like in the spotlight, but for me, so young, you know, having that skill that was immediately like acknowledged and recognized and affirmed, in a lot of ways it was cool because I'm like, okay, like when first told me I want this, that was a very sweet moment for me to be like, oh wow, maybe this is a skill. But once you get to the, you know, hey, rap for these people or do this or do like, you know, kind of being pushed in the forefront, for me, that was just the uncomfortable tension of like, wait, that's not what I'm in it. I don't want to do that, you know.
So when you're saying
your point.
So when you're saying people are like, hey, rap for this person or like rap for this person, is it like you're just standing in front of these people and it's just like whatever comes? Yeah. Dude, describe that a little bit.
Yeah, so there's this it's a term called freestyling, and that's when you improvise and you say the first thing that comes to your mind. You know, I'm chilling with John Mark, the meeting just started. I don't know where to, you know, like you literally just kind of rattle it off and just go. And so really, really young, that was even that, but even that's a whole separate skill of being able to just innovate and improvise and just go off the top of your head. And so it was very much like that, like kind of like almost like, look at him go, you know? Yeah. And again, that I think my friends and my family, you know, they had the best intentions. It was something that they enjoyed and wanted to share with other people. But for me, it was like, I ain't really trying to do that. I don't like to be singled out like that, you know?
Well, it's so weird to be put on the spot. Like just right here. And you were talking about, you know, being the person who is shy to open up. But you also are the person who is, you know, you'd rather be on the forefront with high energy. And there's a fine line between like sharing your true emotions and just being crazy. Right. And so, you know, honestly, I feel like whenever you have people who are like putting rhymes together, you want like that layer of authenticity. Right. And so when you're young, how do you get that and share a message that's authentic? And now that you're older, how do you have an authentic message but make it relatable to today's audience?
Totally. So I kind of think about the work that I do and the art that I create in its simplest form. So every single person in this world has different life experiences because we're from different backgrounds and upbringings and we have different perspectives. But our feelings and emotions, if you strip everything down, are the same, you know, when it's just baseline. So for me, pain may look like, you know, seeing my brother get arrested and not being able to spend Christmas with him. And pain for you might look like, dad not pick you up for a baseball game, but it's still pain and it's the same emotion.
Mm-hmm.
So in my mind, it's like if you can appeal to those things that are universal, which is happiness, sadness, like we all experience, no matter what, like I said, no matter what your life looks like, we all experience the same things and go through the same things. And so I've just always decided that in my music, I want to portray the things that connect us all.
Mm-hmm.
We all have skin. If you cut it, it's going to be red blood. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so just kind of touch on the things that, unite us rather than divide us, if that makes sense.
Nah, I'm about it. So you have always been one of those people that you're I would just call you a people person, right? I think you truly just love everybody. You
I
know,
appreciate that. That makes me happy to hear.
well, dude, I guess it takes one to know one.
Sure.
Not to like preach about myself,
Come
but
on, toot your horn real quick.
I love other people and I love them dearly. No, I talk often about how I think relationships could be a form of currency.
Oh my gosh, 100%.
Yeah, and so a lot of those kind of people are the ones that I want to have on my show because we value the same thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I mean, like, I guess if we were to take it into your career, like, networking has got to be a really big deal for you, especially as you try to like, do you ultimately want to continue the rap career and just
You said something that really struck me. So this note is from 2018,
okay,
and the
let's go.
first line says you can't read it, but it says relationships are the new currency.
Dude, yes. I do,
I've never
yes.
I've, I've never heard anybody else say that,
Here we go. We're
but
back.
it's just
We're
come
back
on.
on the basketball court again, dude.
We're back on the court. Come on.
No, dude, but I truly do believe that, man. I
That's
think,
awesome.
if you move for me, I'm gonna move for you, dude. And not in like a weird way, but like, I grew up, my dad is an incredible person, but a lot of people don't do the like favor for favor swap, right?
Mm,
So like I guess in this case, like you're coming on my podcast and
yeah,
that's your favor to me, but my favor to you
yeah,
is, man, I'm gonna try to blow you up on social media and make you
totally,
look like the best person that you possibly
totally.
are. Right. And
Yeah,
so it's favor for favor and there's a form of currency there. But like, I mean, I would also take it a step further to go like if you were to call me and say, hey, I need this, I would stop
totally.
and do it.
Yeah, yeah,
Right. And you're the same way, man. And so,
yeah.
but anyways, I say all that to get to, relationships being the form of currency, but how do you use that in networking while building your career?
Yeah, totally, bro. You hit the nail on the head. I think it kind of starts with just like caring for people, you know, because yes, relationships are the new currency, but that line is also very fine. You'll encounter people who, in their mind, it's just business. So you do things solely to get something out of it, which I'm not necessarily speaking to that in a negative way necessarily. Like, it might for those people who operate like that, it just is what it is. But for you, I'm using this relationship as an example. Someone who I went to school with have been able to build a friendship with, you
Mhm.
know, and even post graduating, still kind of keeping up with each other. It is a situation where it's like, you hit me about the podcast. I'm like, absolutely.
Yeah.
I believe in you, what you do. I'm happy to do it. And I do know that if I need anything, I could call you, and you
Hmm.
know that about me. So it's just like, I think you just kind of use this pay it forward mentality. I'm somewhere in my career where I'm like, okay, I've pretty much done the establishing of myself that I want to do. I've put out different projects. I've, worked with some of my favorite people, met some of my favorite artists, and so I've kind of done a lot of the milestone check marks that I want to, do for myself. And so now I'm really concerned with helping others, first and foremost, know that the same things are made available to them and possible for them, but also wanting to help put people in positions to, achieve some of that stuff.
And
Um,
I love that you just said what you did. My next question was going to be like, what's your vision for your career? Like,
Yeah,
where do you really want to take it? But you're going, I don't really know that I want, like, obviously you're going to continue the grind. You're
totally,
not, you're not going to stop, but
totally.
you're wanting to continue you want to take your platform and help people.
Well, so the reason it's really kind of funny because sometimes I heard Dave Chappelle say, sometimes you have to be a lion to be the sheep that you really want to be. Sometimes you got to be like super, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm gonna go get it and take it by any means so you can like lay back and be gentle and just kind of chill out and relax. And so that's kind of where I am right now in my career. Sometimes you have to go out and establish yourself before people really take you seriously. It shouldn't be like that. You should be able to just say, "Hey, I'm John Mark. I'm a great guy with these skills." But we live in a society where it doesn't work like that. We need to see, production, and we need to believe that we can trust our investment in you, whether it's, you doing music, you coaching, whatever it is. I need to know what I'm getting myself into when I'm investing in you. And so for me right now, that's what the phase I'm in, laying foundation, building up my track record and my credibility. So then I can have the platform to say, what I really want to do is promote these artists. What I really want to do is, connect these people, host shows and festivals, start a record label, start a nonprofit, give away, but in order to get it, it's just steps to everything. In order to get there, then you kind of first got to establish yourself. That way, to your point, sponsors and donors can say, "Hey, what is this guy doing? Let me throw some money at him, so then I can, disperse it and kind
No,
of do
I'm
something
with you.
like that."
I'm with you, man. It's good to be able to invest in people. I think that's one of the big deals that a lot of people just don't do anymore.
Sure,
It's the me attitude. It's the
sure,
how can I help myself get better in the
yeah.
marketplace? And you're talking about sometimes you got to be the lion amongst the sheep,
Oh, totally.
right? Right. And I've never really heard it phrased that way, but I was reading Green Lights. It's a new book by Matthew McConaughey,
Oh,
and
I've heard about that.
bro, so good. It is
Yeah,
so good. I say I was reading it. I drive a lot for work, so I was listening to it on Audible.
same here.
But anyways, he's got a section in there where he's talking about how he left to go to Hollywood for show business, and he shows up and he's like, "Man, I'm ready to go." Right, and like so, he's trying to put his name out there as much as he can. He's living at this director's house or producer, I don't know, one of the two, but he's living at this guy's house, and this guy's going, "Dude, you're too eager for Hollywood,
Mm,
right? Like you're too eager. Go on a vacation." And he goes, "Don't go on like a 1 week vacation or like 1 month vacation." He's like, "Go on take a year, go somewhere." And
wow.
so, bro, Matthew McConaughey goes overseas, rents Harleys, and like rides for like a year, and then comes back cool as a popsicle. And that's when his acting career took off.
Wow.
Dude, it was absolutely nuts. I couldn't
Huh.
the whole and dude, great book. Okay,
Yeah,
if you need something just for like a little side inspiration, man, check it
for
out.
sure.
It's not a heavy read, but it's also, I don't know if you listen to audiobooks, but it's narrated by Matthew McConaughey too. So it's like
Oh, that might be worth it. That right there might be what got me.
yeah, it's good. But man, tell us, actually let's take a commercial break. So yeah, hey, welcome back to the Daily
Thanks,
People
man.
podcast with BAANG. That's BAANG. I don't know that I've asked or if I've got the answer yet, but tell us what the acronym stands for.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go back a little bit. So the
Okay.
nickname came from my older brother, um, around like junior high school. He just kind of gave me the nickname, and it gained a lot of popularity in my community, and so much so that like we used to have a pep squad called Team Bang, and it was just really really funny. Just a bunch of us used to just dance at football games and little silly stuff like that. But since it did gain so much popularity and traction, I wanted to at least attribute some type of positive connotation to it. I didn't want it to be, I mean, it's great that it was fun and silly and energetic and we had a good time, but I wanted to make sure it was something that stood for something else if, it was going to be promoted in such a way. So the acronym used to be believe and achieve, never give up.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just kind of like what we decided to go with initially. And then over time, we kind of rebranded it, same concept, but we switched it to believe, aspire, achieve, now go. Mm-hmm. And the concept behind that is if you can first believe in yourself enough to aspire to do something, then you'll be able to do it. Mm-hmm. If you think you can do something or you think you can't do something, you're exactly right. Mm-hmm. So if you can first believe that you can do it, then you can do it. Mm-hmm. And once you aspire and achieve something, now you go and spur someone else on to the same thing. So like if I have a goal and a vision for myself and I do it, now I need to go and tell you, John Mark, go crush that. You've been wanting to do a podcast, go kill it. Mm-hmm. You've been wanting to do this, go kill it. You can do it. Yep. So that's the acronym: believe, aspire, achieve, now go. And it's just a lifestyle brand in which we want to, promote self-love.
Man, I love it, dude. I love it. See, I remember, I guess I didn't catch on back in the day when y'all did the rebranding, because I remember the believe and achieve, never give up.
Yeah.
That's what I remember. And so like whenever you changed it, I was like, okay, maybe I just remembered it incorrectly or made my own acronym up.
You had it. That was it. We did an actual official process in which we kind of wanted to keep the same, like I said, concept, but just like, switch it a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. So now we're empowering people with our music. Right. So that's your message, but how do you get that message across to your listeners?
Yeah. I think it first kind of starts with an uncomfortable level of transparency and vulnerability. Like if I'm wanting to encourage people to, love themselves past their flaws and like accept themselves even with, the shortcomings and be content even when we're upset that we haven't reached a certain standard, we have goals for ourselves that we haven't reached. And so if I'm encouraging people to love themselves past those flaws that we have to live with daily, then I first have to be doing that, because the saying is real, recognize real. And so if I'm not being genuine and I'm not being authentic, then I'm not going to be able to put out an authentic, body of work and project. And you can feel whether music is coming from a real place or not. That's what makes us connect with songs more than the beat or more than the words. Is just like the feeling behind it. And so that's kind of how, I get that message across, is being very, like I said, an uncomfortable amount of, self-actualization and just being honest and open and real with myself, surrounding myself around people who can, pour into me, encourage me, but also, check me if need be, kind of point me back to, which is also not fun. Wouldn't recommend it, guys.
But you do need it though, man. That kind of mentorship is very authentic. Yeah, you gotta have it, man. Gotta have it. But keep going.
Yeah, no, that's it. Get some community and some accountability and just someone to tell you, hey, you're crushing it. Hey, you know what? You've been kind of off lately. Are you okay? Are you going through some things? You've been a little bit irritable. Starting with that, and making sure that I'm doing my due diligence and self-care. That way I can kind of translate those messages through the music that I'm doing.
Come on, man. Going back to the mentorship side of this deal, I've got a guy named Daniel Brown. He's a preacher, and I've interviewed him. He's published on my podcast, but I used to meet with him every Wednesday morning before I would start my workday. Right. And he's not like, they say in mentorship, you should have somebody that's a couple years older than you. So they know where you've been.
Yeah.
Have somebody that's like 15 years older than you.
Yeah.
They know the path really well and they can really speak. And then you should have somebody under you as well that you're speaking back into.
We kind of hit from all cylinders. I was just going to say that. So we're back on the court.
Let's go. So anyways, man, Daniel was at the time, he was my mentor that was like, a couple years ahead of me. Right. And I absolutely love this guy. But like right before I got married, my wife was still in school in Fayetteville, and he's going, "Yo, bro, like, where's your fiance gonna live when she moves down here?"
Mm.
Right? And like, imagine sitting across from a preacher, going like, yeah, she's gonna move in with me.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So that was such an awkward deal, and I was like, well, I mean, the plan currently is for her to move in with me, and he goes, let me see if I can set you guys up for something a little bit better. Right. So
Wow.
he had somebody that he knew at the time that had a spare room, and this girl didn't know my wife from nobody. Right. She
Mm.
had never met her. They weren't friends on social media. Right. And her name, I mean, she just opened up her house, and, then my wife's got this place to stay. But dude, I can honestly say that because of that type of mentor and having somebody that was that authentic, our marriage is better because of it.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. That's my bit on mentorship. But yeah,
That's so important.
yeah. But I mean, you've talked about working with people who you wanted to work with, meeting people that you wanted to meet.
Yeah.
What do you try to get from those relationships and putting them back into what you do?
Yep. Yep. I'm a firm believer that you can learn something from anyone. And my grandmother says everybody has at least one book in them, no matter who you are.
Your
Old,
grandma is wise, man.
oh, she's the real deal, brother.
Let me tell you this, man. I love the fact that you have put her in some of your music.
Yeah.
I love it, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Not only am I a friend, but I am also a listener. So
I appreciate that. No,
yeah.
seriously, brother. Like, I mean, I think it's really, really cool because just constantly, every single conversation, and I mean, she's 70 plus. So she's at the age where now, like, all she has left to do is just give back.
Mhm.
She's worked, she's raised 20 kids and just done. And so now she just is always pouring into me. And so any chance that I get to also put that out, I try to do so. So from these relationships, I'm just always trying to gain some type of insight,
Mhm.
because I heard this saying that says, speak as though you know exactly what you're talking about and listen like you have no idea what you're talking about.
Mhm.
We always have something that we can learn. And
Mhm.
so as whether it be like, my favorite artist I met, there's an artist from Meridian, Mississippi. His name is Big Crit. One of
Mhm.
my very favorite artists. I got to meet him in 2019 or 2018. I forgot which one. I went to a show and I rapped for him.
Mhm.
And it was just, unbelievable experience. Still kind of doesn't feel real.
Dude, I saw this when it happened, and
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, there goes his career, man. It's fixing to take off. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So you got to rap for your dude, man.
Got to rap for him. And just like what was such a rich experience was that exchange of me sharing something with him and him receiving it well, but also just like getting to hear him, say, just keep doing it.
Mhm.
Anything you put your mind to, just keep doing it, because there's nothing that you can do long enough, hard enough, and well enough to not see a result from it.
Mhm.
That and I've been studying the Mamba mentality, lately. Rest in peace to Kobe Bryant. But Kobe Bryant talks about this concept and this schedule that he had to where he would wake up at 5, go to the gym from 6 to 8, go home and eat breakfast, go back to the gym from 10 to noon, go home and eat lunch, go back to the gym from 3 to 5, go home and eat dinner, go back to the gym from 6 to 8. And he'd do that every single day,
Mhm.
and he talks about that over time, the separation just happens,
Mhm.
if you can implement. And so anyways, I'm saying all of that to say, like, in the conversations that I have with whether it be my grandmother or a mentor, I'm always trying to find something that I can, glean and learn something from, but also that I can pour out. Because something that I've learned, especially with our generation, we think that we're on our own and isolated and kind of disconnected from people,
Mhm.
a lot of times. And I think that's why now anxiety and depression levels are at an all-time high. I seen a
Mhm.
study from like 2-3 years ago, and it's astronomical how much more anxious and depressed we are now than we have been in previous years.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that's because, it's literally more people stressing out, or we're doing more tests, or whatever the case may be. But I think a lot of that stems from feeling isolated,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of feeling alone. And so in my music and my message and everything I do is just like wanting to communicate to people that, you're not by yourself. And even if you're in the darkest of the dark, roughest of the rough time, like, you're not alone. Someone else is going through that.
Come on, man. I love that, dude. I love the message, man. Not that I'm a doctor or anything, but I do feel like a lot of times when we are feeling like that kind of loneliness or whatever, a lot of that, man, has just really been driven by what goes on in social media, right? Like,
totally.
We love to receive our clicks and our double taps. It's just so hard. And then, like, you consider whenever, like you and I, like, we each have social platforms for what we do, so we're constantly trying to put out content and try to, make people aware of what's going on. And, I find myself checking that stuff more often than I should, really. I mean, but I don't know that I ever get my head down about it. But I mean, I can see where, if you take 30, 45 minutes working on a piece of content and then you upload it and it falls flat, like that can kind of hurt you, a little bit. And then just do that, over the course of time, eventually it'll eat you up, man.
I
mean, it will. So I don't know, man. Social media is an interesting game. One thing that I had noticed whenever I was just scrolling through your Instagram, man, you get great response.
Dude, it's something that I'm really, really grateful for. And it's real people, not that I got anything against those who buying followers and stuff. If you want to buy followers and likes, more power to you. But like, to your point, it is a lot of real life interaction with real people. And it's just such a blessing that, people care enough.
Yeah.
Because that's the reality too. Like everything's a window. You know what I mean? Like, we were in college for a season. You were a young single man for a season. Like, everything's a season. And so, not to quote, the amazing Drake, but
oh, come on.
Drake says how long they choose to love you will never be your decision. So like, the who's to say that the response in the engagement and the interaction will be like this next year, or in 6 months for that matter. You don't know. So,
well, I'm just going to go ahead and pray it over you, man, because for guys like you, I can only imagine that the trend is going to continue upward.
I appreciate that, man. That means a lot.
I mean, I really can, dude. You're probably one of the most authentic people I've ever met in my life. So, okay, you got to what besides Big Crit?
Yeah.
Okay, tell me some of the other people who have inspired you in the music industry.
Totally. So when I was really, really young, my mom used to listen to a lot of neo soul and a lot of reggae music. So. And oldie. So a lot of Bob Marley, a lot of just old school R&B, whether that be like Isley Brothers or Lauryn Hill or Erykah Badu. So what we would call today just a bunch of vibey stuff, just some vibes, some stuff that you could put on and take a road trip, listening to, clean the house, listening to, stuff like that. I've also been inspired by artists who have not been afraid to push the envelope and push boundaries. And so one of my favorite artists is Andre 3000 of Outkast. I referenced him earlier, just like how, wonderful he was and poetic in storytelling, but also wasn't afraid to make a statement of across countries, darker people get treated worse than lighter people. Why is that? Or, he accepts an award in a different state and he gets booed and he's like, go ahead and boo, but the South is going to be represented and we have something to say. So, you got to take heed to us. And so over the course of my life, I've always been inspired by, like I said, just the old, authentic music, but also those persons who haven't been afraid to stand up for something.
It's crazy to me. You were talking about how Andre 3000 is receiving this award. And it's crazy to me how coastal
Yeah.
music can be.
Yeah.
You know,
For sure. Yes.
dude, it's like the Midwest gets no representation unless you're
Yeah.
from Houston or in Atlanta. You could consider that coastal. I don't really know if you do or don't, but I mean, that the zoning of it is so strange to me because I'm like, dude, I can rock with what you're saying and you're from Canada, and I
Yeah.
can rock with what you're saying and you're from New York,
Yeah.
you know, and I mean, to me, it doesn't matter, but
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
it's neat to see, like, so sorry for, go ahead. I don't want to cut you off.
I didn't have anything else, man.
It's it's neat to see how social media has kind of bridged the gap, because 10 years ago, and even more so 20 years ago, it was very like zoned off. New York was Jay-Z and DMX and the Diplomats, and the West Coast was Snoop and Ice Cube, and South was, you know, Lil Wayne, Master P, and North, you know, it was just so, and we kind of stayed in our own blocks, you know, even if we did like certain stuff and appreciate it, it didn't get as much spin as UGK in Texas or whatever the case may be. And so it's interesting to see just how over time the gap has been bridged, and social media, I think, has connected people, because before social media, you needed, if I wanted to be a rapper, then I needed to find somebody who was a producer or engineer or someone who could present my stuff to a label. But now we see, like, there's 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old kids getting record deals in Wisconsin from their bedroom because you upload it to the internet, and then the rest is history. You know?
Yeah. Billie Eilish, for example.
Totally.
Yeah, dude, it is absolutely crazy to me. And dude, even consider like YouTube, man. Like Justin Bieber got his start on YouTube.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Or you've got guys like Macklemore who are really some of the first to go truly independent. Maybe there's some others that I'm not thinking of.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I guess my ignorance growing up was, you know, you're on the radio, you're making money.
Totally.
Right. But that's not the case, man.
Yeah.
You know, you've got this person to go through who wants a cut, and then this person and this person and this person. You know, how do you personally avoid that?
Well, yeah. So it's almost the opposite. Like, you say you're on the radio, you're making money. In a lot of cases, people have signed bad deals just due to inexperience, lack of patience, ignorance. You just don't know, you know. And Dave Chappelle I referenced him again because, I mean, he's just a genius. But he did a not a stand-up, but his most recent piece is him talking about how he was a young comedian signing to Comedy Central, and they basically tricked him into a bad deal. Now, a lot of people are going to say, you know, well, Dave Chappelle should have read all 50 pages of the contract and this and that. But, and they're right to some degree, but also you don't expect this company that you're coming to work for, who's, you know, telling you they love you and they love what you do, to manipulate you into, you know, a messed up situation. But you kind of avoid it just by, the first thing I would say is knowing what you want. That's another reason why a lot of people, I think, end up taking bad deals, is because you don't know what you want. And so if somebody comes to you and say, hey, I'm going to offer you $1 million for 10 albums and 10 years of service to me, and you kind of like, oh, shoot, it's $1 million. But what you don't realize is once your song goes #1, you're going to make $10 million. And of that, you don't see anything if you didn't negotiate that.
That's right. Know? That's right.
And like you say, people think $1 million is a lot of money, but once you start working that many figures, then the IRS taxes you at 30 to 40%. So you automatically lose $400,000. Then you have a legal team that wants 10%, and so now you're down to $300,000. Then you have a label who takes their cut off the top, so now you're down to $100,000 after your $1 million, you know, and so
and that's over 10 years.
Yeah, and that's over 10 years. And so you just kind of got to be cognizant of A, what you want, and B, some people would say no to labels. And I'm not saying don't sign to a label. I'm saying make sure that you negotiate a deal that's symbiotic. You know, Prince used to speak about ownership, and he's just saying, like, there's no reason why I should make the album, write the music, market it, do all of this stuff, and not own it at the end of the day? Why am I doing all of this work and you who haven't done anything are the one who owns it?
Mm-hmm.
So you just kind of got to know what you're getting yourself into and know what
Yeah, man. That's such a strange industry to me, man. All I can think about is like, the Straight Outta Compton movie.
Totally.
The manager there was just such a jerk.
Yeah.
I don't know any other way to say it, man. And I fear for that for the up and coming guys.
Yeah.
I want people to be successful, and I like the independent stories.
Yeah.
I think that's something that with where we are, we should have that.
Mm-hmm.
Social media is giving it to us. We got to figure out how to take it, and we can do that. If we're patient. One of the things that you've said this word twice now. You've talked about being patient twice now, and it's interesting because another one of the books that I'm reading currently is by a guy named Gary Vaynerchuk. He's a social media guy. I don't know. I've recently discovered him, but super famous dude. One of his goals is to own the New York Jets. So, Gary, if you ever listen to this, I hope it happens for you, man. Yeah. But anyways, he's talking about how pressure and patience makes diamonds. Right. So, if you take your time, just continue to be patient, but like you have to apply that pressure, I have to apply that pressure, but we also have to be patient,
Totally.
We will reap the rewards for what we're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I've heard it explained like this: patience is active waiting.
Mm-hmm.
It's actively waiting. And so usually when you think of patience, you think you're just kind of sitting down, twiddling your thumbs. But no, patience is exhausting every single option you have, doing every single thing you need to do, checking all the boxes that are in your control, and then sitting back and letting God put the sprinkle on it. You know what I mean? Like sitting back and letting God just bless it. Like that's what it is, but it doesn't mean that you just kind of sit back and, okay, it's been, no, you work, you grind, you bust your butt in whatever it is you want to do. So if that's a sports team, that's starting a podcast, if that's, whatever, if that's pursuing somebody, do what you got to do, bust your butt, go hard at it, and then you be patient and wait to see, everything come to fruition.
That's it, man. So, well, JP, I know we're getting kind of close. You told me that you had a dinner that you were working on. So if you had a message for your listeners or my listeners, what would it be on your way out?
Wow. At this point, I think I would just say, just keep going. I think 2020 was a very different year for a lot of us for 1,000 reasons. Maybe you had trips planned that you couldn't take, or maybe, you got a loved one become real ill, or even, maybe lost a loved one. But I think it gets greater later, and you just keep going. Sometimes it's like, it's not what you go through, it's how you respond. And so life has no respect of person. So good and bad happens to everybody, whether you're rich, poor, black, white, old, young. You're going to have days where you feel like it's the best day of your life. You're going to have days where you don't want to live. And so it's not, so if good and bad happens to everybody, then it's not what happens to you, but it's how you respond to it. And so just keep going. Sometimes the best thing you can do is just not faint, just stand.
Come on, man. It gets greater later. I'm a fan of it. So tell everybody where we can find you. Do you sell merch? Do you have a website? You know, what you got?
Great. So you can find me on all the socials, Instagram, Twitter, at LRBAANG. You can go to the website, Love, STNL, which stands for Stay True, Never Lie, Love, LOVESTNL.com, and find the music, the merch. This really cool article I just made the newspaper, which was super, super cool. So you can find me on the socials, find me on the website.
Come on.
And
y'all, look, check him out. The dude is 100% as authentic as he's been this whole 45 minutes. He's literally as cool as an ice cube. So Jeremiah, BAANG, Pickett, I don't know where you throw that
That's
in
it.
there.
Throw it
Okay.
all out there.
Jeremiah Bang Pickett, thanks again for coming on the Daily People podcast, man. Enjoy your dinner.
Thanks for having me, brother.
Peace.
Later.